I never thought I would see the day where I would read a romance novel and actually enjoy it for the most part, and then I went back to not liking it. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I bought this book several years ago and I always thought I wanted to read it in October time or November time, where it's autumn, it's fall, it is the perfect time of year to be reading a book called The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. So this November I finally thought, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna read this goddamn book, even if it kills me. Now I realized while I was reading this book, I'm not a romance fan. I think I already always knew this, but I realized that I'm not into modern day romance. I don't like boy meets girl, they have a meet cute, they get to know each other, they date, there's a little bit of conflict, there's some sort of 3/4 of the way through the book, there's a drama, it's most likely a misunderstanding, they work through it, they get together, they're a couple now, they lived happily ever after. I like a romance movie, I'm just not quite into it as a book. I think I just find it quite boring. I'm not gonna go into all the ins and outs of why I don't like romance as a genre, or I've discovered this about myself, that I'm not really into romance. However, I did actually like this book a little bit. The basic summary of the book is that Jeannie has been left a cafe by her aunt. You may think she's dead, but no, she's traveling. And that's one thing, the more I think about it, I find a little bit odd. Why was her aunt so happy to just gift Jeannie her cafe? And from the way that Jeannie talks, it's like fully, the cafe is yours, do with it as you see fit. If you want to sell it, cool. I'm a bit like, why would Aunt Dot, who has clearly worked her whole life in this cafe, she's built a great reputation, and she must be making profit because god damn it, the citizens of Dream Harbor love their coffee. I'm just surprised that she just gifted it to her niece and was like, I'm off traveling now, bye. Fair enough if the whole premise was that she was running it for her, then I could be a bit more like, you know, okay, fair enough. But to just gift someone your business, I find it a little bit silly. But, you know, at the end of the day, when it came to a lot of things about this book, I just had to give myself a little bit of a shake and be like, it's fiction. It's a work of fiction. It does not matter why these characters do these things. Like, it does not matter. If the author wants the citizens of the town to be bonkers crazy and so unbelievable that people, the whole time I'm shaking my head, like, people don't actually go on this way, I was like, do you know what, at the end of the day, it's a book. It's a book, it's fiction, it doesn't matter. So Jeannie is gifted a cafe in the small town of Dream Harbor. Dream Harbor. And from the very first chapter, she meets Logan, who is described as a grumpy farmer. This man was not a grump. He was sometimes sarcastic, and he was shy and kind of quiet. And I think he was only a little bit grumpy when we first met him, and that's because Jeannie thought he was an intruder, and she nearly took his head off with a baseball bat. So I think I can forgive him for being a little bit grumpy that you almost murdered him. Other than that, I find that he wasn't all that grumpy, but Jeannie kept referencing him as like the grumpy farmer. And I'm like, he's not that grumpy. I think this was trying to be a bit of like a sunshine grump trope. I'm only into those kind of tropes if it actually feels genuine. The grumpy character needs to be more than just grumpy in one scene. They need to actually be a grump all the time, or the majority of the time. They just kept referencing him as a grumpy character, and I'm like, where? I've not seen the grump. So they have a meet cute, sort of, where she tries to kill him, and he convinces her to go to the next town hall meeting to report the fact that she can't sleep at night because there's a disturbance in the cafe. And the town hall meeting was just a bit wackadoodle. It was a little bit crazy. There's a clairvoyant mayor who's convinced that he has these dreams that tell the future of the town. Meanwhile, they're trying to talk about issues with the town. The townsfolk are like, but when's the cafe gonna reopen? Because at this point, Jeannie hasn't officially opened yet. She's only been here for a few days, and she hasn't opened yet because she's finding her feet. And the townsfolk are basically rioting at this town meeting to be like, but when is the cafe gonna be open? Because God forbid you have to make your own coffee at home. Jeannie then tells the townsfolk about how there is something keeping her awake at night. She's hearing scratching noises. Everybody's coming up with suggestions. And in the end, it is decided by the townsfolk that Logan should stay and help her figure out what's going on. So they have a stakeout, which lasts all of 5 minutes. They literally spend the majority of the time setting up their sleeping bags, talking about snacks that they're gonna eat while they're on their stakeout. They hear the noise, he opens the door, it's a cat. I guessed it was a cat. You know why? Because there's a cat on the cover of the book, and it's absolutely sending me on the back. I hope you can see that. The way he's like poking out over the the barcode. But I saw this cat on the cover of the book, and I was like, that's the ghost. That's a cat. And it was a cat, and she adopted him and she called him Casper. The rest of the book is Jeannie opening up the cafe, getting familiar with running a cafe, getting to know the locals. There's Annie, who owns a bakery, Hazel, who owns a bookstore. There's a book club who comes every week to the cafe to host their book club, and they basically just read porn the entire time. The first quarter of the book I really struggled to get into because it was mostly Jeannie and Logan pining after each other. We get both perspectives. It's told in third person. One chapter would be Jeannie, the next would be Logan, and so on and so forth. And the first quarter was just them pining after each other the whole time. The whole time. And I was so bored of it. He was into her. He basically loved her from the first moment he saw her with her little hedgehog pajamas. She was in love with him from the first moment when she tried to take his head off and he was carrying gourds. Gourds, I think it was. I don't know what a gourd is. Small pumpkins. She thought they were pumpkins. He said they're gourds. I don't know what a gourd is. We quickly learn that Logan is afraid to fall in love and afraid to commit again because he had a very public relationship with the last girl who moved to this town. But there was a girl called Lucy who came to Dream Harbor. She and Logan had a romance. He proposed to her at the Christmas light switch on, and she was like, no, thank you. Like, I like you. I'm not committed to this town the same way you are. I want more than Dream Harbor, and if you want to stay here, like, this isn't gonna work. Which, I'll get into all this a bit later. Fair. Absolutely fair. You're allowed to make these decisions if somebody suddenly proposes to you and you think, do you know what, actually, I'm using my big girl brain here. I don't think we're going to be happy. I don't think we're right for each other. And she left him. So Logan is basically traumatized by the fact that he had this really nasty, messy breakup that humiliated him in front of the entire town. So he's afraid to fall in love or afraid to start a relationship or anything with Jeannie. He's afraid just being near her in case she hurts him like Lucy did. Jeannie, on the other hand, is running away from her past in Boston. She worked for... her job was corporate. Her job was business. It's like the Hallmark movie, Girlies, where it's like, I could make partner at a firm. And it's like, what are we even talking about right now? Jeannie's story is that her boss had a heart attack at his desk and she found him the following morning. And it basically gave her a bit of a wake up where she was like, I don't want this to be my life. I don't want to die at my desk by a stress-induced heart attack. I want more from life. So when Aunt Dot offers her the cafe, it's the perfect opportunity to start over and start a new life and just do her own thing. I'm sorry, I just elbowed you. Well, I'm sorry, my precious boy. I'm sorry. So Jeannie, right from the start, is very wary of falling for Logan because the townsfolk are weird as fuck. Logan's two best friends are Annie and Hazel, the baker and the bookseller. They've known each other since they were children. They're really good friends, and they sort of immediately warn Jeannie, you know, kind of maybe stay away from Logan because he's had his heart broken before and we don't want that for him. And she's like, cool, that's fine. I don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers in this town. I'm good with that. We will stay away. So the first quarter is them being like, oh, that really sexy, grumpy farmer that I need to stay away from. And he's like, I'm totally not going to the cafe just to see Jeannie. I'm going because I want coffee. But, you know, like, she'll be there. And I'm just like, oh my God. Okay. So I really wasn't into it the first quarter, and it was a bit of a slog. Then, finally, the two have a little moment where this is the biggest dramas that happened in this book, I swear. The plot was that there was no plot. And I think that's another problem I have. I'm not really into these kind of books where there is no plot apart from the characters' lives. And there's nothing much going on. The main excitement was they were setting up the farmer's market and her tent flew away. This is the thing that gets me about this town. Where was the farmer's market set up that she closed the cafe to open up a pop-up tent to sell coffee from there? Do you have like a coffee machine? are you just selling them instant coffee? Because surely a farmer's market would be done in maybe the main area of the town, which is probably near your cafe. So surely you could operate from your cafe. Why are we setting up a stall at the farmer's market? Maybe it is a big town, but you know, the book tells me it's a small town. So I'm assuming that where I come from a small town. Now I know I'm from the UK, I'm not from America. This book is set in America. I just find it a little bit odd that these things, like they say small town, but I really don't think they mean small town. I come from a small town of like population of about 1,000 if you're lucky. There's a main street where all the cafes and that are. We have the market right bang in the centre of that. No local cafe is going to come and sell their coffee from a tent when the cafe is right there. So she's setting up a stall at the farmer's market because that's apparently something that Aunt Dot did. And while she's setting up her tent, the wind picks up and it is blown away. So her and Logan chase after it. It gets caught in a tree. They're trying to get it down. Then the heavens open and there's a great downpour. So they run back to the cafe. Well, not the cafe. No, it's a lie, because the cafe is open, because Norman's downstairs running the cafe. Norman's one of the employees that's been there for years and years. We'll get back to Norman later. The cafe is open, which is so silly, because the cafe's open, but she's also at the farmer's market. So her and Logan go upstairs to her apartment, which is above the cafe, or next to the cafe, or somewhere near the cafe. Again, it's not very clear. I'll talk about that in a bit. They go in and they have their first makeout session, and it is hot and heavy, and I thought we were going somewhere and I thought we were getting to the spice, but then the power cuts and she's like, Logan, we need to stop. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I shouldn't have rushed this. And she's like, no, it's because the power went out, I need to go and help Norman. I'm like, I think Norman will be fine. Norman has worked at this cafe for years. If the power's gone out, I'm sure he knows how to deal with a power cut. Sorry everyone, like you need to go home, otherwise it's a case of like we just wait it out. That's what I do in my business like I own it, but I mean where I work. So why she had to break up their makeout session to go downstairs to help Norman when she's the new girl. But anywho, I suppose she's just being a good boss. That was the moment I think I realized, actually, do you know what? I've always said I am not a spice fan, but this book has changed my mind. I was rooting for the spice, I was waiting for it, I was like, where is the spice? Give me all the pumpkin spice, the cinnamon, the ginger, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm here for it. I'm ready. My body is ready. Let's go. But no, it was a little bit of like back and forth. The next time they see each other, it is at a trivia night at the pub. And they both leave together. He gives her a lift in his truck. And they did say in the book that it was a really short drive. Like it wasn't that far. However, one thing I couldn't understand is Jeannie has been dealing with some sabotage. She has had her trash cans knocked over. I think that was it at that point, actually. It was just the trash cans. But somebody had been knocking over her trash cans. Logan was like, is it raccoons? She was like, nah, like the trash hasn't been disturbed. Like if it was raccoons, they would have torn the trash apart. Like everything's undisturbed. It's just someone's been pushing them over. Scandalous. And she is convinced that somebody is potentially sabotaging her. That's the real drama of this book. I was like, oh, we're getting somewhere. We're getting a little bit of plot here, like a bit of drama and excitement. Someone's knocking over the bins. And she wondered, one of the people that was on her suspect list is Mac, who owns the pub where the trivia night is taking place, because he had expressed interest in wanting to buy the cafe so that he could expand the pub. Now, I assume that must then mean that his pub is attached to the cafe in some way, right? Because unless you're planning to run it as a separate business, which I suppose you could be, the way it just made it sound was as if he was expanding the pub. Meaning like, I'm gonna knock down this wall and our cafe and the pub are interlinked. But maybe I've just picked it up wrong. But either way, I was still like, the pub must be close to the cafe. And she lives above the cafe, or at the back of the cafe. And Logan gives her a lift in his truck from the pub to her flat. That's not here to here? Like, you couldn't have walked? You could have walked her to her door. That would have been a gentleman move. But instead you gave her a lift? And while they're in the car, they start chit-chatting, and then they end up making out, and then she ends up like straddling him on his lap, and I'm like, oh my god, we're getting down and freaky in the car. Then her ass hits the horn, and she toots. And suddenly they have a little bit of a wake up, like, what are we doing that people could see us? I can't actually remember now if it was before then or at that time was when they decided, let's just keep things on the down low. But they decided, because of his past with Lucy and the townsfolk witnessing all of that, he's a bit afraid to commit and like have it be that if it doesn't work out, it's the townfolk know everything again. And Jeannie also is a bit worried that in case things don't work out, she doesn't want everyone to hate her because she's broken the heart of Logan, who is like the town's child. And this is one thing that really kind of was just a bit weird to me. Obviously, like I said, I kind of accepted that at the end of the day, this is a work of fiction. So what does it matter what the townsfolk are doing and if they're acting like caricatures and cartoons and like they belong like a sitcom? This book was really like Gilmore Girls. The way, remember when the entire town turned against Dean because they were like, we love Rory, like Rory is our child, like who hurt Rory? I remember watching it and being a bit like, calm down everybody, like it's not that serious. But that's how it is as well with Logan. His dad ran off when he was young and his mum died when he was like 5 and he was raised by his grandparents, but the entire town has basically adopted him as like this poor sad little orphan that we must protect, and he's so wholesome. I could understand that if he was an orphan, like fully an orphan, he had no family and he was maybe taken in by one couple and the whole town looked out for him. He had grandparents who owned a farm. He had a good life by the sounds of it. So I'm just a bit weirded out by the fact that the townsfolk were just like, this sad poor little orphan, we love him so much. Meanwhile, Logan's just here like, these damn nosy neighbours. It was so ridiculous. So I can understand why Jeannie was terrified of getting involved with him publicly and having everybody shun her if she dared to break his heart. So they decide to embark on a secret relationship. And in that time, Jeannie has a little bit more sabotage. There was one night where she heard a noise and she heard a smash, like glass breaking. She got up and looked out of her window, and this is where I got confused. She was looking at her bedroom window that looked out onto the cafe and said she saw the silhouette of a person, presumably a man, with a bat, and obviously they've broken the window. And I thought they were inside the cafe, but I think they were outside the cafe. So again, this is why I couldn't understand the layout. I couldn't understand if her flat was on top of the like I assumed it was on top of the cafe, but yet she could see the man. But unless it was like over the back and she was seeing the alleyway, I don't know where she was looking at on. I couldn't make sense of it. But either way, a window was broken and that's the first time she's like, whoa, someone is actually out to get me. But that was probably the most dramatic thing, because after that, it was them things she discovered were happening in-house. So like the refrigerator was switched off, so all the milk spoiled, the coffee machine was playing up. So at that point, she realized the call is coming from inside the house. Someone that was on her staff was doing this. Now, she only had 3 suspects at that point. There was Norman, who's been there the longest, who is alluded to by other people that potentially he had a relationship or a thing with her Aunt Dot. And he's always been very cold to Jeannie. Then there's Crystal, who's just a young girl. I don't know how old she is. I think she's about Logan's age, which I don't actually know how old any of them. I think Jeannie's 25. And then there's Joe, who's just a teenage boy. And she's listing off the reasons to Logan of like who she thinks it could possibly be. And I'm like, it's Norman. Of course it's Norman. He's the one that's been really cold to you since you got here and unhelpful. But okay, let's pretend that we don't think it's Norman. And then we have another almost moment where they almost get spicy. At this point, I was well over halfway through the book. And it was our first little... There was a couple of... Do you know in a Hallmark movie, when there's a moment about 3/4 of the way through the movie, there's just always something dramatic that happens? It could be something as simple as a misunderstanding. There's always something that drives our characters apart, just for even a brief, like 5 minutes. And then they're back together and everything's fine. And, oh, we were just being silly. That happened a couple of times in this book. So the first one was when they were at the flat. His flat, I should say. Now, for this, I began making notes. I want to make it known though, at this point, I'm over the halfway mark. I was starting to enjoy the book. I was getting excited for the spice. I was ready for it. And then it kept just like teasing me and then just adding in unnecessary drama that I did not care about. I ended up whipping out the burn book. So I got this notebook from my friend, and I think it's perfect for ranting about books in it. I've since made multiple notes on the Pumpkin Spice Cafe because I had to take down pages because I was so just like, what is going on? What is happening right now? So I was halfway through the book and there was a moment where, so Judy has come to visit him at his family's farm with the intention of, I don't know actually, why did she come? Why have you come here? I don't remember. I think probably because they were just having a bit of a, like, will they, won't they? Like, basically, she has been basically wanting to have some of that farmer's seed. And he has been wanting some of her pumpkin spice. And they've been interrupted multiple times by now. Well, twice actually. The moment when they first kissed after the failed farmer's market, And then the moment after the trivia night where they were in the car and they got interrupted by her ass honking the horn, and then they were like, shit, what are we doing? We're in public, we might be seen. And then the moments are ruined and then they go their separate ways instead of just being like, shh, let's go up to mine kind of thing. But anyway. So she comes to the farm to see him, and he's got like a cute little like granny annex that he lives in that's like an attachment of the farmhouse. They're kissing again. Jeannie didn't want to kiss all night. She had other plans, or at least she did until the knock at the door. The knock might as well have been gunshots for how quickly Logan reacted. His hands pulled away from her body so fast she got whiplash. He took a step back and then another, putting as much space between them as he could. His face above his beard was a bright, embarrassed red. His blue eyes were wild with guilt or fear or something else entirely, something like regret. He jumped away from her, like he might catch fire if he touched her. He dropped his hands from her body, like he couldn't bear the thought of anyone knowing what they'd been up to these past few weeks. And suddenly, this secret relationship was less fun. I was like, these past few weeks? It's been weeks since you decided to embark on this secret relationship. Nothing has happened. Absolutely nothing has happened. They kissed, the power went out, they stopped because she went to help Norman. They kissed in the car, she honked the horn with her ass, and then she went home and he went home. That's been it. And you're trying to tell me it's been the past few weeks? And the thing is, this is why I've always understood what people mean when they say show don't tell, right? I get that. And a lot of times I'm not that big on it. I'm not very much like a, yeah, show me, don't tell me kind of girl. I'm very easygoing. If you want to tell me and feed me facts and tell me what's been happening in the last few weeks, I'm here for that. But up until this point, he's been coming in for coffee probably like once a day, sitting in the coffee shop, talking to her in public. They've not been doing anything. They've not had any little rendezvous. They've not went on any secret dates. This is not even secret dating at this point. This is just them telling each other they're in a secret relationship but not doing anything about it. They're not a couple. She's not had him round for dinner. He's not took her out. They've not went on like a cute walk on some really secluded like forest trail that only he knows about. Nothing has happened. And you're trying to tell me the past few weeks? Like you couldn't bear the thought of anyone knowing what they'd been up to these past few weeks. You have kissed twice. Girl, it's not even a relationship. It's not. I'm sorry. So that was the first moment where I was like, we need to take a minute because what the actual hell? I got a little bit annoyed at that just because I was like, also, I didn't realize weeks had passed. I thought it was just a few days. May I just say though, this book takes place the span of a month. The moment was ruined. It turns out it was just his grandpa. She gets so offended at the fact that he basically, the moment someone knocked at the door, he jumped away from her like he was caught doing something he really shouldn't be. And she's so offended by it. But also, isn't that just a natural reaction? If I'm sitting with someone, whether it's my boyfriend or somebody I'm actually secretly dating that no one else knows about, if we were making out and somebody suddenly knocked at the door, your immediate reaction is to jump away. You're not embarrassed to be with that person. You're more just embarrassed at being caught out. You were getting hot and heavy. This wasn't even just like we were having a cute little kiss or we were holding hands and suddenly he dropped my hand. Like you were making out with the intention of sleeping together. It was hot and heavy. Of course you're gonna react if you hear a knock at the door. I react that way if I'm watching the TV and I hear a knock at the door. I'm sitting like, who's calling? Who's at my door? So she freaks out and the moment's gone and she does the whole like, I should just go. And then he's like, huh? And she's like, I've got stuff I need to do. Like, it's no big deal. He's confused because he's like, what's going on? But then they have a bit of a, like, still, they kind of talk it out a little bit. And he's like, you don't want me to kiss you anymore? Well, I don't want you to not kiss me. And he's like, Jeannie, you're being very confusing right now. And she goes, I know, I'm sorry. It's okay, I can wait until you figure it out. And then she asks him about Lucy, and he's like, she wasn't happy here, she wasn't happy with me. It was going on for a while before I proposed, but I thought I could fix it. I thought I could change her mind about living here, but it didn't work. So then they have a bit of like a really cute, I like you too. But then in the end, she does still decide to go because the moment was kind of ruined. Her emotions were still way too all over the map to make staying here in this small space with this large man a good idea. She was bound to make decisions she would regret later. But would you though? Like, he says, I like you, Jeannie. She says, okay, good. It was good, a good start. But Jeannie still didn't know where that left them. And this weird secret limbo they were in. She didn't know if she was still willing to sneak around this town and pretend they weren't together, when it turns out she really wanted to be. Pretend they weren't together and sneaking around town. Like I said, at this point, nothing has happened between them. The book hasn't told me or shown me that they have done anything together. So what do you mean, sneaking around together? Then Logan is visited by his friend Noah, and Noah's just like, if you like this girl, just go for it. So after the little mishap at the farm, I think it was a total overreaction from Jeannie, because she acted like the man was repulsed by her when clearly he was just like, oh my god, we've been caught out, when they're supposed to be having a secret relationship, but yet she's acting like he's literally so repulsed by her. She then feels that his past with Lucy is something that he needs to work on, and she's absolutely right. And I think a big turning moment for me in the book, Lucy has been mentioned so many times. I genuinely started to believe she was going to turn up and want Logan back or something. Like, I genuinely thought that's what the drama was going to be towards the end. You know, like I said, you need that little 3/4 of the way through the drama. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought Lucy's been mentioned so much. I think she's going to turn up and be like, Logan, I made a big mistake. I actually want to marry you. And he's like, shook. And Jeannie's like, oh, you want to be with her? But that didn't actually happen. I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable at the way Lucy's character, a character I had never even met, by the way, was being bashed so much, and just the villainizing of her. She was the villain of this story and she wasn't even in it. We didn't know anything about her other than the fact that she'd moved to Dream Harbor, had a relationship with Logan, and then decided that this little sleepy town wasn't where she wanted to settle for the rest of her life. And so she dumped him when he proposed to her. And the whole town hated her for it. And they still brought it up about that bitch Lucy. And I think the moment that really kind of settled it for me, that I thought, what on earth kind of narrative is this author trying to give, where this girl is becoming the villain all because she didn't want to marry a man? And I think it was this moment where on page 238, when he had basically stayed away from Jeannie for an entire week, and then he went and spoke to her and was like, I'm sorry, I've not been speaking to you. Why had he stayed away from her for a week? Why had he let Lucy continue to ruin shit for him? Lucy is gone. It's been over a year, I think, at this point. What the actual hell did Lucy really do that wrong? I'm sorry. I'm a Lucy stan on this point, because I just feel like it's not a good enough reason to turn her into this massive villain. She rejected his proposal. Yes, I know maybe rejecting him in public was not a nice thing for him to go through, but he shouldn't have done it in public. The whole town were practically on board with it, and the whole town knew about it, that he was going to propose, that it became this big thing, that they turned on the Christmas lights and everyone turned to look at them as he got down on one knee, and she's like, I'm sorry, but no, I can't marry you. And then he also admits to Jeannie that, you know what, yeah, I was trying to change her. There were actually cracks, but I was trying to convince myself and convince her to stay. Be so for real right now. Are you joking me? The villainizing of Lucy pissed me off. Because what do you mean? You are still letting this woman rule your life and affect you in such a way. And it does come out at the end of the book when they have their actual drama moment, the miscommunication trope, the good stuff before the characters get back together. Annie, or is it Hazel? Hazel points out to him that you have abandonment issues because your father left, your mother died, and Lucy left you. So he does actually have issues, and by the end of the book he's going to therapy for it. In the moment, it really bugged me that Lucy was being blamed for how he was in his other relationships just because she prioritized herself and also prioritized him. Because imagine she'd married him and then they ended up unhappy and they divorced and took off. Would that not have been a little bit harder? I just think that she let him down in a way that, yeah, maybe she shouldn't have let it get as far as for him to propose, but also maybe she didn't think he was going to propose. No one really knows when their partner's going to propose to them, right? Like, unless you have talked about it. A proposal can still be a surprise. So I think that was the moment I really switched off. I clocked on that, do you know what, nah, I'm not on board with this anymore. It was a bit silly to me. But yeah, obviously Logan has got issues, and that's just part of his character. But I was not here for the vilifying and the villainizing of Lucy. I just wasn't. It was unfair. Then, a couple pages later, so he apologizes about his behavior. I'm sorry about the other day. You don't have to apologize for that. It's what we agreed. It was my idea. Because obviously, they agreed to keep a secret relationship. And then she was unhappy when he then acted accordingly to a secret relationship. And she was like, he's rejecting me. He's repulsed by me. I handled it poorly in the moment. I gotta stop letting my past haunt me like that. It's really not about her anymore. It's my own stupid pride that got hurt. I don't want to screw things up with you, Jeannie. And then Jeannie says, we can take it slow. Have we not already been taking it slow? Because up until this point, they've only kissed a handful of times. They've not gone on any dates. They've not done anything. Anything at all. There has been nothing romantic in this book. She's been working at her cafe and he's been working on the farm. And he comes in for coffee. Maybe once a day. They've not done anything. They've not had any secret rendezvous. And if we're supposed to assume that they've been doing it, the author hasn't told us that they've been doing anything. Anything at all. So what do you mean we can take it slow? We've already been taking it slow. We are at a snail's pace. We're not even moving. We have not moved. So what do you mean we can take it slow? I honestly don't think it's possible for you to take it any slower than you have been. So then, there's a realtor character that is always coming around and trying to convince Jeannie to sell. Why she's so invested in getting Jeannie to sell, I don't know. Maybe she wants to make some fat commission. But she's been coming into the cafe and she's offering Jeannie brochures and stuff and being like, look how much the flat could be worth. Jeannie, of course, leaves these lying around in her flat. When the book said that, I was like, well, you know what's going to happen here. You know who's going to find that. We get to the fall festival, which is around Halloween time. And they are running around the festival together. And that's one thing that I think gave me the ick. I'm not going to lie. The reference to them as if they were running around, like they're holding hands, but they're running from one place to the next. Are we 5 years old? Why are we running? Why are we not holding hands and walking? It's like he grabs her arm and he runs to the haunted house, dragging her past all the stalls in the process where she waves at everyone and everyone's like, oh, look at them, they're holding hands and running together. Why are you running? Why are you running? It gave me the ick. It really did. Because I'm just picturing them just like zooming about. They go into the haunted house. And while they're in the haunted house, they're having a makeout session. Somebody stumbles upon them, like, because they're cutting it out with a torch. And they're like, oh, I thought you were teenagers. Because all the teenagers have been in here, coming in here and making out. But, you know, sure. So then they decide to go back to Jeannie's place. And they finally sleep together. And I was actually so ready for it. I was ready for it. I was so ready. I was like, yes. I was so excited. And you know what? I actually enjoyed it because I didn't think I possibly could enjoy spice. I don't think I was a spicy girly. And you know what? Safe sex as well, because instead they were practical. Condoms are in the bathroom, she says. Safe sex. You love to see it. He has a little sleepover. He wakes up the next morning. Jeannie's already in the shower. So he gets up and he's cutting around the apartment and he's like a little bit put off by the fact that her apartment is basically just full of boxes. Like she hasn't unpacked. He sees this as a little bit of a red flag because he's like, those abandonment issues were coming up because he was like, she hasn't unpacked yet. What if this means that she's not actually settled here? She's not planning on staying. She's actually keeping everything boxed up so that she can run away when she wants to because she doesn't actually want to be here. She's only here for a short time, like Lucy. But then he tells himself he's being silly. And he makes himself some coffee. And while he's there, he stumbles upon the business card left behind by the realtor. And he's like, he knows that name because she's always trying to get them to sell the farm. Why this woman is just going around, she's clearly just trying to generate business. Her business must be dry at the moment because she's just running around trying to convince everyone to sell. And then he happens to spot all the paperwork on the desk detailing how much she could get for the cafe and prices in the area. And he's like, she's gonna sell. I was right. The unpacked boxes. There's no commitment here. She's gonna leave. She's gonna sell. And we finally have what can only be described as our 3/4 of the way drama, miscommunication. He thinks Jeannie is gonna sell. She could leave and never look back. His gaze roamed over the living room, taking in details he'd been too distracted to see last night. The kitchen might have been organised, but the living room was just as unsettled as the bedroom. A large box labelled photos sat menacingly next to the couch. Jeannie had no intention of staying, and he'd fallen for it again. He'd fallen for her. His blood flashed hot, then cold, as the realisation set in. He'd been nothing more than a stop on her trip, and he'd paraded all over the damn festival with her yesterday. Everyone in town had seen them together. He'd given everyone yet another reason to look at him with those poor Logan looks. He had to get out of here. So then they fall out. She comes out of the shower and she's all like, oh, you made coffee, thanks. And he's being really cold and weird. And he goes, didn't realise you were planning on selling. Surprised me, that's all. And she goes, I'm not. And he goes, I think maybe you are, Jeannie. Maybe that's what you wanted. It isn't. Her mouth turned out into a frown and Logan hated it. Wanted to kiss it right off her face. That kind of thinking had only gotten him into trouble. Maybe you should. What? Why would you say that? Look around. He gestured to the living room, and Jeannie's gaze scattered over the boxes and empty walls. You haven't even moved all the way in. It's just that I've been busy. Busy? Maybe. Or maybe this wasn't what you wanted at all. We don't know each other all that well. She flinched at that. And considering everything they did last night, he knew it was a real asshole thing to say. But if he didn't push her away, he'd take her in his arms and be even more devastated when she left. But it seems to me you ran away from your old life. Your boss died and you got scared. But maybe this isn't really where you want to be. I can't cope. So then he leaves. Well, actually, no. She is like, fine. You have some shit to sort out anyway. And so she goes and like shuts herself in her bedroom, and then he leaves. And that's when his friends come round and basically tell him, you have abandonment issues. Jeannie is not like Lucy. Jeannie is not planning on leaving. She's been getting to know the locals. She signed up to do baking classes. Also, Norman has quit because it turns out Norman was the saboteur. She catches him in the act fiddling with the thermostat, and she's like, Norman, it's you. And he's like, it is me, and I quit. Basically, he's mad because he's worked in the cafe all this time, and when Dot decided to leave, he thought that she would sell the cafe to him, but instead he gave it to Jeannie. And so he's mad at Jeannie for coming in, and he's been no help at all, and he's been sabotaging her in the hopes that he can drive her out of town, I guess, and get her to sell to him. Weird plan, but anywho, Norman quits, and she is then running ragged for an entire week. I love the reference that Annie or Hazel or whatever one it was said to Logan. She's been killing herself in that cafe trying to run the place because Norman quit. And I'm just like, the cafe that's open probably from like 9 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't even think it properly serves food. I think they do pastries and baked goods from Annie's bakery next door. God forbid she has to make about 20 lattes. As someone who, I work in a pub now, but we also do coffees, and because of where we're situated, we can have a morning rush of loads of coffees and people just lined up wanting caffeine, and you're like, it's busy, but you get on with it. And the fact that I can do it solo, but God forbid her and Crystal have to do it together, I'm just like, do people really just not, in this kind of economy, are people really going to the pumpkin spice cafe every single day instead of making coffee at home? People have coffee machines at home now as well. She's been killing herself in the cafe, keeping it afloat because Norman quit. One person quit and suddenly it's chaos. So they go and they give Logan a bit of a wake up, shake up, because what are you talking about? Pull yourself together. She's not Lucy. She's not going to leave. You need help, my friend. Oh no. Oh, I've just given myself the ick again. Logan then realizes he's been a tit, and he comes to the cafe where Jeannie is in the break room taking a break. Joe's through the front. The cafe's full of people. Basically every named character that we've met is in the cafe right now. Logan comes in, demands to speak to Jeannie. Joe's like, she's on her break right now. Logan's like, I don't care. Get her out here right now. Jeannie! Jeannie! Jeannie's in the back like, can I climb out that window or... So they talk, and he's like, I'm sorry, I was an idiot. She's like, yeah, well, duh, you're an idiot, because I'm staying, I'm happy here. Then he tells her, I'm in love with you, Jeannie. You are? Yeah, have been for a while. Since when? Probably since I saw your hedgehog pajama pants. That was when they first met, when she tried to take his head off with a baseball bat. Well, I've loved you since I saw how many tiny pumpkins you could carry at once. So they fell in love at first sight, basically. Bear in mind, it's only been a month. This entire book has took place in the span of a month. And allegedly a few weeks of those was spent in a secret relationship where they did absolutely nothing. Then they start kissing again. You know, they're going at it. They love to kiss. He lifts her up into his arms and carries her back out to the cafe. "What are you doing?" she squeaked. He held her thighs tight as every head in the cafe turned toward them. Jeannie spotted the entire book club in the corner. Jacob gave Jeannie an enthusiastic thumbs up. Hazel had popped in for her usual latte. Tim and Tammy, I don't even know who that is, were here in their athletic wear on the way to the gym. And even Mayor Kelly stood frozen by the door, Noah just in front of him. Good Lord, what was Logan doing? "I love this woman," he announced gruffly, like he was expecting someone to fight him on it. The cafe went silent. "We already knew that," Linda yelled from the back, breaking the silence. Laughter and cheers and a few whistles rose up in the cafe. "Not everything is about you, man," Noah told him, coming up to the counter. He slapped Logan on the back. "But congrats." Logan blew out a frustrated sigh. "This damn town," he muttered, and she giggled. Logan does not make it easy for himself. Do not be telling me the entire book how you hate how the town interferes with your life and treats you like little orphan Annie, and they were giving you pitying looks when Lucy broke up with you. And then in the same breath, announce to everybody that you love Jeannie. My favourite part though was Logan tells her, "You're taking the afternoon off," and she says, "Sounds good to me." Jeannie waved over Logan's shoulders to the Pumpkin Spice Cafe customers who had already gone back to sipping their drinks and chatting about the weather, as though declarations of love happened in the middle of their morning coffee every day. If this was real life, they would be chatting shit. They would be like, who the fuck do these people think they are? This was the moment though I was like, Jesus Christ. The next few chapters is basically smut. It is spice. And I was here for it again. It got me back on board. Until this one little moment did take me away. When they decide to have sex. So they decide to get it on. This is just after. He takes her to his flat. Yeah, he takes her to his flat. And they begin to get a little hot and heavy. I love how though they're at his place. And he goes, "Condom?" he asks. And she goes, "I went back on the pill." And he says, "Thank God." Can we please normalize? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna take 5 out of this book to just have a little chit chat about this, because I hate how it's so normalized nowadays for it to be like, oh, condoms are so annoying. Like, a condom? Really? No, grow the fuck up. Like, grow up. Seriously. You want to be safe from STDs and STIs and also having unwanted pregnancies. So I hate when it's happening even in a book where it's like, condom? Oh, thank God you're on the pill. Grow up, Logan. You're a grown-ass man. It's been a week since they first did the do, since they first got spicy. And in that week, she has been killing herself at the cafe. How has she found the time to go back on the pill? You're also not protected properly until you have your first cycle. Wait a goddamn minute. Let me just get into this a second, because now I don't know what birth control is like in America. I don't know if the pill there is different than the pill here, but going off of my knowledge of the pill, you were not protected until your first cycle. I'm sure it was after that was when you were protected, right? Like, it's not immediate. Also, when has she found the time to go out and get the pill? Why also did she go out and get the pill when after their first time together, they fell out and she was like, this man's a dick? Why did she go and get the pill? Why did she then think, do you know what, I can't be arsed with condoms? She owned condoms, they were in her house, so clearly she had no issue with them. Why also were the condoms already unpacked and in the bathroom, in the medicine cabinet, when clearly it's alluded to that she didn't unpack at all and she had boxes everywhere? But she unpacked the condoms? I'm getting off topic a little bit, but I just found it, when I read it, I was like, could we not have just used the condom again? Like, did it really need to be a big deal? It just felt a bit silly to me that she's supposed to have been working her ass off in the last week in the cafe. Also, they basically just like broke up. Why is she now on the pill? Anywho, but other than that, that was my last sort of like major note where it was like, it's been a week and you were busy, and also you guys fell out. Why did you decide to go on the pill? I don't know. Whatever she wants to do, she can do. But of course, he's all, thank God. And it's like, grow up. Grow up. And so they basically, it's just about 3 or 4 chapters of them getting it on in all the places they hadn't gotten on before. And then the book ends. The book ends with them having an unboxing party where everybody comes around and unboxes. Why the hell? These townsfolk are so goddamn nosy. Was she happy to invite them into her home? And I mean everybody. Book club was there. If she wanted to just invite Annie and Hazel, the 2 characters she'd gotten closest to, and maybe Noah. Noah turned up as well because Hazel was there and they've got a thing, and that's the second book, is them falling in love. I don't know if I'm ready for it. Do I want to read the rest of the series? Maybe. I think there is a few of them. I'll be on the lookout for all of them. Do you know, I actually did enjoy it a bit. I think there was just quite a few moments towards the latter part of the book where obviously it just had to keep you gripped. It had to keep you interested, because God forbid you can have a romance novel or a romantic story without some form of tension or drama or breakup just before the finale where they get together. It got a little bit silly for me, and I think I'm not big on insta love, and I feel like this book was a lot of telling instead of showing, which, like I say, normally I'm not that bothered all that much about that kind of thing. I'm quite happy to just go with the flow. However, them just constantly telling me how much Logan likes Jeannie and Jeannie likes Logan, I was like, show it to me better. Make me feeling like I'm in love with these characters. I wanted gestures. I wanted cute secret dates. They did nothing. They did nothing the entire book or the entire couple of weeks where they were secretly dating or having a secret relationship, a secret fling. They didn't do anything. I just wanted it to be that there was actually something, like something cute. He brought her flowers. They went on cute little anything. Give me anything. I'm asking for the bare minimum here. I haven't even decided what I want to rank this book. 3 stars feels quite low. I don't really work with like 0.5, 0.25, 0.75. I am a round girly. I am a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if I want to give it 4 stars, but I don't think I want to give it as low as 3. So I might give it 4. I think maybe middle ground, I'll give it 3.5. But actually, do you know what? No, I think I'll give it 4 stars just because it wasn't that bad. I wasn't overly keen towards the end, but the middle, the spice. Oh, I can't get over this. What have I turned into? This is not me. Bring on the spice. I just don't want to be reading like erotica. I don't want to be reading 50 Shades of Grey. I don't want a book where it's all they're doing is having sex and every single time it's in great graphic detail. But I enjoyed having the build up to it and then actually getting to it, and it was like a reward, and I actually very much enjoyed myself. So all in all, Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, I would give it 4 stars. And I think I would actually read more by the author. I think I would read more from this series. The townsfolk I do just find a little bit wacky. That's just personal preference, that I'm not overly keen on these books set in small towns where the characters are nuts. I would probably recommend it. I guess it's a light-hearted autumnal read. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll leave a link down below of all my links. If you like this video or you want to see others by me, you can subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in my next video, whatever that may be.